Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta. Sorry, my phone was going off as I'm opening here, but I just wanted to come on quickly before we get into the episode today, just to give a trigger warning. This is going to be a pretty heavy episode, and I just want to remind you guys that here on my channel, we're looking for the truth. We're not looking for what makes us feel good. We're not looking to be coddled. I mean, certainly not looking to be lied to. I don't want sweet little lies. Like I want the truth. And so sometimes the truth isn't pretty. And sometimes the truth, most of the time, the truth doesn't care about your feelings, right? Because feelings are just opinions, and most opinions are inaccurate. And so I just wanted to put this out there because on my channel, again, we're speaking the truth. We're looking for the truth. We're not looking to coddle people. We're not looking to participate in any derangement or delusions of grandeur that have to do with the ego. We want the cold, hard truth. Now, with that being said, your free will choice, it's your choice whether you want to watch the videos or not. No one's forcing you to watch these videos. You don't have to watch these videos if you don't want to. But I have noticed that a lot of people have been coming into the comment section and basically demanding that I stop telling the truth. These people consider themselves to be truthers, but they don't want the truth. They want their egos to be smoothed and brushed and that I'm just not interested in that. The truth isn't comfortable. It's rarely comfortable because the truth often is connected to our own suffering, which is part of the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, is that you come here and you're going to experience suffering, but there is value to that suffering. And so with that being said, the first part of this video, we are going to be talking about some administrative stuff, some housekeeping stuff. Paula has a brand new business that she's really excited about, that I'm excited about too, that she's going to talk about. And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what is service to the system or service to God. And a lot of people have beliefs in the system. They don't really have beliefs in God. They have beliefs in the system. And that, after we get through that conversation, we're going to carry on that theme of serving the system versus serving God as we start to go through one of Laura Knight's article that have to do with her research into basically mind manipulation and religion and these different Machiavellian rules that are pretty eye-opening. We're only going to get through half of the article because it's really, really long and it's really, really heavy. We're going to be talking a lot about the Old Testament, about Moses and Joseph and what went wrong. And so again, if this is triggering for you, if hearing this information is going to cause you to behave badly, to throw a temper tantrum in the comment section, I'm warning you right now, don't watch this video. All right, because it is your free will choice. Nobody is forcing you to be here to watch these videos. It is your free will choice to be here. So you need to be careful about how you react to other people who are just looking for the truth. Again, I'm going to remind you, I'm saying this mostly to the truthers. Facts are facts. Feelings are not facts. If you really want to be a truther, if you really want to be a seeker of true knowledge, you have to be open-minded. You cannot be searching for the truth and be closed-minded. Okay? None of us really know what's going on in the world. None of us have all the answers. Third density is not the density of wisdom. It's the density of choice. And so we're going to start to look at this stuff. And again, if this is going to trigger you, then please leave. No one's forcing you to be here. No one's interfering with your free will. You're here by your own volition. So please, 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 you would not want somebody to come into your house, walk into your house and tell you that you're hurting their feelings because of the books you have in your bookcase in your house that they came into. That's what it's like when you do that to me. When you come to my comment section and you get mad at me and tell me I'm hurting your free will because you chose to listen to something that's hurting your feelings. All right? Please stop wishing people light and love, guys. Please, please, please. Light and love is of the negative polarity. When we do that, that interferes with people's free will. We don't pray for people. We don't wish light and love to people unless they ask for it. Unless they ask for it. Okay? You didn't like it when the world was trying to force this on you. When the world was saying that this was for your own good, you didn't like that, did you? So then you've got to be better. You've got to be better. Don't go wishing light and love to people who didn't ask for it because you didn't want this. You got mad when people were forcing this, so you got to be better than that. Let people live their lives. Let people make their choices. Don't try to dominate. Don't try to manipulate. Don't try to control. I want to remind you guys, we are going to be talking a lot about God and the concept of God. Don't use God as manipulation. This is our mess. We made this mess. So Nasara, all these things, these are not part of God. This is something we've created as human beings, okay? So you've got to be ready to have some thick skin. Waking up and being spiritually awake involves thick skin. You got to toughen up, Buttercup. You got to toughen up. Trust me. If you are on a spiritual path where your teacher is blowing smoke up your ass and is calming your ego, then you are not on a spiritual path. You are way off the spiritual path. You've got to toughen up, Buttercup. You got to be able to have your feelings hurt. Okay? It's not a sin to have your feelings hurt. Okay? Nobody's doing something wrong if they hurt your feelings. All right? Feelings are not facts. Toughen up. Toughen up, Buttercup. Our ancestors collectively would be appalled at what babies we are when our feelings get hurt. No, toughen up. Toughen up. It's called thick skin. You got to have thick skin. That leads to humility. That leads to having an open mind. You got to practice that. You got to be willing to hear hard things. You got to be willing to hear hard things. Anyway, with that being said, I'm really excited. This is going to be part 1. We only got through about half of this because there's a lot to unpack. And then we'll be finishing up part 2 next week. All right, you guys. I hope you enjoy. For those who want to stick around, who see the value in this, who like these hard truths, I hope you enjoy this. And I thank you for being tough. And I thank you for being willing to look at your own self and your own belief systems. It's hard to do. I've had to do it too. And so I thank you for being willing and having the courage. If you want to have courage, you have to have thick skin. You can't have courage and not be thick-skinned. All right? The both come together. So, all right, you guys, let's get into the show.
How lovely.
Sorry, guys. We just hit record. My dog just left a little. I'm
Little
sorry.
present.
I'm telling the world. He just graced his butthole. Just graced us. Graced me. Paula can't smell it.
Thank goodness.
It's like
Right, I've got my own dog floating around somewhere. She'll probably leave me a present too.
You see my eyes watering. That's why. They're so cute, but man, you can smell a dog fart a mile away.
So bad. So bad.
So anyway, you guys, I'm so excited, Paula, to be back with you because we're going to go through an article with the Cassiopeians first. But before we get into that, do you want to start with your...
Yeah, I've got some exciting news to share with everybody. As you all know, I really love doing my meditations, and I'm now offering, so this is my website if anybody wants to come along to my website, which is just empoweredspirithealing.com. And I am now offering personalized meditations and personalized hypnosis and also healing soundscapes. So yeah, if that is something that you might be interested in, then please have a look. And we'll offer a special. So anybody who joins up through Bryce's channel, you can do the code BRICE20, the same as for the Esoteric Academy. You can just use that same one, and you can get 20% off your first order if you're interested in doing a personalized, getting your own personalized meditation. And the benefit of having a personalized meditation is because most meditations are just kind of created generally for the general population to help most people with most common issues. But with a personalized one, it's going to have your name in it. And it's going to basically be focused on whatever you really need, whatever healing issues you have, whether it's pain, money, weight issues, maybe you need motivation for different things, or you're procrastinating on things, whatever your issue is. I can create a meditation script specifically for you, and then also include some healing frequencies as well, because that just really helps to bring it to another level. And then I also do the frequencies in a binaural beat. So that means that basically one frequency, one tone's going in one ear, the left ear, and then the other one's going to the right ear, and then they're kind of coming together in your brain. So especially if you listen with headphones, it's even more powerful. And it just really helps to like rewire the brain, and to help support you with your healing journey. So yeah, so if that's something you're interested in, then check out my website.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, guys, I'll have that down below in the description box on my channel. With that being said, we are still doing somatic summer for it's somatic
Yes.
winter for you guys down below the southern
Yeah.
hemisphere, below
And
the equator in
yeah,
the
a
southern
bit rugged
hemisphere.
up.
I know where it's hot as hell here. But we're doing a whole season of somatic healing, and that, Paula, that's great for because somatic healing is body healing, and that encompasses everything.
Yeah.
The brain, the sits memory of the body, the physical body, the everything. So that's amazing. And speaking of somatic healing, guys, on the 13th of July,
Mhm.
my friend Cindy, you guys know Cindy, she comes on up my channel a lot. I teach at her shala. She is a huge somatic healer, and she uses a lot of her Peruvian lineage,
So cool.
and she's going to be on the Esoteric Academy. So for our monthly call, Cindy is going to be the guest speaker. So for
I'm
you guys,
very excited about.
me too. It's going to be July 13th. That's a Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Poor Paula, that's 4 a.m. But Paula, you've been getting up early anyway, haven't you? So
So we've just started school holidays over here. We're a week early because some schools start the school holidays next week. And yeah, just to try and fit in working from home as well as looking after my children because they're not at school. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to start getting up a little bit earlier. And this week I've been getting up at 3 a.m. It's going pretty good so far. Today was a little bit more of a struggle because it's Thursday, just getting closer to the end of the week. But I've actually been starting a new practice as well. I mean, so I've been doing tapping, like emotional freedom technique tapping. I've been doing that on and off for years. I was really consistent quite a few years back, and then I've just really started getting back into it again. And I found because sometimes getting up in the morning, it can be a bit of a struggle to get up and, get straight into things. So to help me wake up, I've actually just been, I've got my phone next to my bed, I've got my headphones next to my bed, and I just put my headphones in and I've just been doing some tapping for about like half an hour or so because there's just a few different things to work through. Like being consistent is something that I really wanted to work on. And yeah, and so I love to watch this guy called Brad Yates. He's got hundreds of tapping videos, and I love it because I just follow along with what he's saying. And yeah, it's been really great. So that's kind of gotten me ready to wake up. And then by that time, I'm like, yeah, okay, now I'm ready to start my exercise, and I'll do my workout and then do my little meditation and then have a shower and then get stuck into the day. So yeah, so it's been good. It's been
So
really good.
Cindy, you being with there for Cindy at 4 a.m. is really kind of late for you now. So
Yeah, that's right. So it's gonna be no trouble.
it's amazing, Paula. So many, I think people fear getting up early more than actually getting up early. And what's that
Yeah.
saying? We have nothing to fear but fear itself. Fear is false
Mhm.
evidence appearing real. And it's true. Once you actually like get up, I always tell people once you like pee, once you get up and go to the bathroom, you're kind of up. Like you're
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
And it's a beautiful practice to get up for Brahma Muhurta. And I think we've just got, our ancestors collectively, a lot of our ancestors got up with the sun because they worked
Hmm.
farms, they worked the land.
Yeah, they had
So
to.
it's in your DNA to do this. And it does once you get I feel like once you get your workout done, your practice done, you feel invincible, like you can do anything.
Really do. It really sets you up for the day and you just feel so much better. But also, what I like is really early in the morning at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's so quiet. It's so
So
peaceful.
quiet. Yeah, it's just
And
you and
it's
God.
just, and especially for like a parent, especially, it's just like you get that little break. But just for anyone, it doesn't, even if you're not a parent, it's just nice to just have that peace, that quiet, that alone time, just focusing on yourself. And you know what? I think it's a really good way to show self-love
Oh yeah, well,
because you're
discipline
getting
is the
up.
highest form of self-love, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you're
Yeah.
really really just, yeah, putting yourself first, and you're making choices that are supporting you to live a better life, basically. But this morning when I was doing your workout, I was just saying that, I thought kind of crossed my mind, and for quite a few years, when I was younger, I mainly exercised. I was never really sporty or good into sport and stuff at school. I dreaded sport carnivals and all of that because it wasn't for me. But I did exercise, but I only exercised for vanity reasons.
Mhm.
And I kind of would push myself, and it was quite a bit of a punishment, like I think majority of the people have experienced that. And so I think sometimes I push myself too far with certain things. And so the last few years, I'm kind of like that with eating too. Like I was so strict with eating during high school that like now I'm at the point where I'm just like, I don't want to cut anything out because it's just too painful of an experience. And so I think with the exercise, for a while, I wasn't really making any progress because I was too scared to kind of push myself too much because, I didn't want to go to the gym and just, go really hard and then be sore for days and days and days. And I just thought it was kind of interesting. And I thought, I wonder how many of us that are feeling resistant to doing exercise, and we make excuses for it, but I wonder if underneath those excuses and underneath that resistance, is there some kind of trauma? And also another thing that occurred to me is, Bryce, you were saying that, you grew up with parents that exercised a lot. And that's what you saw. That was just life for you. Whereas I grew up with parents that, I mean, I remember my dad did participate in a triathlon. I think he just did the running part when I was quite young. But apart from that, like I never saw my parents exercise ever. I mean, my mum stayed slim because she just doesn't eat very much and she walks everywhere. Um, and my dad has put on weight over the years because he's just not really watching what he's eating and he's not exercising much. And so yeah, so I was just like so shocked when you were telling me what it was like for you growing up,
Yeah, it was normal.
and how it's just so just part of your life. And I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen my parents do a workout like ever. So I feel like that contributes to it as well. So I just want to encourage people just to look into that. If you are finding resistance and procrastination coming up to exercise, maybe look in and just see, is there a little bit of trauma there? Is it maybe you punished yourself too much with exercise? Maybe you pushed yourself too far. Maybe there's some fears there. And look into that, because if you can heal that and move past that, making exercise a regular part of your life is just, I just can't even begin to explain the benefits. Yeah,
My mom especially, like all of her workouts were for punishment.
yeah.
That's the only difference is that
Mhm.
I saw the exercise, so it became normal for people to exercise, but I had to rewire my perspective of
Yeah,
exercise. And if you are exercising, like if you're doing a hardcore, powerful, and high intensity exercise because you're trying to beat yourself up and punish yourself
mhm.
because you don't think your body looks right, you're going to have a very different experience with the
Yeah,
intensity of the workout than if you're doing the workout to actually flush your body and nourish your body. The intensity is going to be the same. It's going to be the same discomfort,
yeah,
but the heaviness you feel is going to be different. So when you're
yeah,
doing a high intense, really hard exercise with the intention of breaking through self-doubt, breaking through limitations, there's going to be a lightness to the discomfort, if that makes sense. But if you're
yeah.
doing it because you felt like you ate too much the night before, or you're trying to get the attention of a guy, there's going to be such a heaviness and it's going
And
to have
almost
the
like
coil.
a kind of the pain is a bit suffering almost. It's like, oh, I ate too much yesterday and now I've got to, got to work that off.
It's self-abuse.
Yeah. Whereas instead of just thinking, okay, I'm going to challenge myself today to see how far I can go with this,
How strong am I
and
really? Yeah, what is
yeah.
where when
And
the
that's a lot
burning,
more loving.
yeah, when the muscles are burning, instead of being like, fuck, oh, this is awful, I deserve this burning, this is I'm fat, instead of saying, oh my God, my quads are burning, what's being burnt up? What
Yes.
following the good, what are you showing me? What body,
Yeah.
what are you showing me in this moment? You
Hmm.
know? And that's going to take, in order for, at least from my, it's going to take you facing the hard workouts
Hmm.
and doing them to course correct it and to catch yourself. And that's why I say, Paula, like, now this is totally up to you guys. Like, obviously you have free choice what you want to do, but my opinion and I don't think people should be weighing themselves.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think you should be weighing yourselves. You
I
will
haven't
know
I
if you,
haven't done it for a while.
who gives a
I
shit what the
just
numbers say?
well, it's just it changes so much, and then quite often you're still fitting the same way into your clothes, and then you get
Exactly.
bloated every month because you've
Women do,
got
yeah, women go through like 5 pounds
yeah,
up and down every month with their period anyway.
exactly. So
So
for me, it's more just how am I fitting in my clothes? How am I feeling and feeling, yeah, with
you
that.
will feel when you throw your scales away, guys. I haven't weighed myself since I was 27. You
Oh
will feel,
wow.
and I wear the same size pants I wore when I was 27. You will feel
Wow.
it if you start
Yeah.
to, and you'll be able to course correct. You don't need so I would ask anybody struggling with that, is the scales, are you abused? Is that an abuse tool for you?
Mm, yeah.
If you're having to go to the doctor for some health reason, they're charting your weight anyway. I would even say when you go to the doctor, ask them not to tell you how much you weigh. I do that the rare times I go to the doctor, I turn around and I say, don't tell me.
Yeah, right.
Just write it down. And they're
Um,
good about that. They go, okay, a lot of women do that. And for me, guys, and I don't have a weight issue, but I know I have a mother who I believe has struggled with eating.
yeah.
And I don't
Mhm.
want that to trigger something in me. I'm aware of that. And so
Yeah.
I've made every
That's
precaution to
sensitive.
not do that.
I
Um,
think that,
yeah.
yeah.
And
And
sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say, and that's another thing that kind of put me off doing a lot of exercise as well in the past was because I was scared that I was gonna get more hungry and that I was gonna want to eat more. And it's just kind of like a really silly little thing
Yeah.
that I
Well, you
was
can't,
worried about.
your calorie, I mean, I don't even like talking about calorie burn because all calories is energy.
Mhm.
But if you are burning more I mean, I would guess that one full-on practice for me of Ashtanga probably burns about 800 calories. Just because
Mhm.
other people have tracked it before, and so that's just where I'm getting those numbers from. So that if I'm not careful, that could be a huge deficit for me. However, if you listen to your body's gonna modulate itself. And if you do
Yeah.
have weight loss that needs to happen, like if you are unhealthy, if there is some issue there, now this is important. I'm glad you brought this up, Paula, and I say this in the Alchemy of Movement workshop. One of the biggest misconceptions, one of the biggest lies that we were taught in the 80s and the 90s is that in order to lose weight, you have to do cardio.
Yes, that's
Cardio is a
right.
huge calorie burn, but that doesn't mean anything, guys, because it's using oxygen and blood for the energy. And so it's like an empty calorie burn. So when people do a lot of cardio, they do see their appetite increase. Like I know a lot of people who, when they train for marathons, they always laugh that they get really hungry when they're training. Like they usually gain a few pounds
Mhm.
because their body's really hungry. So for weight loss, what you need is more anaerobic work,
Yeah.
not aerobic. That's anaerobic means without oxygen. So anaerobic is when the body burns glucose. So aerobic cardiovascular work, the body is reaching for oxygen for its energy supply. So it pumps, that's why the
Mhm.
heart rate goes up, right?
Right.
It's reaching for oxygen to supply the energy. But anaerobic work, the body is using glucose for energy,
Mhm.
which is your stored fat, your stored sugar. So anaerobic work would be like yoga, Pilates,
Mhm.
bar.
Yeah.
Most of the videos we do, weightlifting,
Yeah.
calisthenics, Pilates, that is all anaerobic work. Now, if you were to
Yeah.
wear one of those Apple Watches and your friend goes on a run and you do a Pilates class, your friend is going to chart a higher calorie burn.
Right.
However, With anaerobic work, your body starts to burn your stored fat, and so your hunger doesn't change. You don't get more
Yes.
hungry because your
Yeah, because I
body,
was going to say, since I've been doing your exercise classes, but since November, December now, I haven't noticed a difference in my appetite at all. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Because I think when I was in high school, I was believing what we were told, and
yeah,
I was focusing on more aerobic work. I did do a bit of rowing because some girls that I went like that I was really good friends with, we all did rowing together for a little bit. I kind of sucked at that because my upper body strength wasn't very good. I always had more lower body strength, but yeah, and I used to do a lot of running, and if I went to the gym with my friends, it was all cardio stuff. I did not realize, but now, I'm just learning how important strength training is, weight training is, because when you're working that muscle and what it does, and then how it's actually burning calories even while you're sleeping.
yeah, that's the
That's the
metabolic
difference.
lift. That's the that lifts your metabolism. So when you're doing a lot of
Yeah.
strength training, which is anaerobic, you actually raise your metabolism. So
Yeah.
you're burning more throughout like your muscles. So your muscles, when you build the muscle, you're building that muscle to get stronger. So it's going to take those calories you eat and start
Yes.
to feed it to the muscle, right? And that's when
And
we
it,
get
and
the
it
long
might weigh more than the fat, but it takes up less room than the fat does.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. So those toned bodies, running is not going to give you a toned body. What's going to give you a toned body is anaerobic work. Now, professional runners do have toned bodies, but I always have to remind people of this. Professional runners, like Olympiads, all that kind of stuff, they have coaches and they're also doing strength training. They're also
Yes,
being
and
stretched.
well, do you know what I've noticed as well is doing when I'm doing your more strength training kind of classes, that when I do break it up every now and then and I'll go on the treadmill to do something different, I'm like, wow, my fitness level has
You run
increased
faster, don't you?
so much.
Because your muscles are,
Oh,
yep,
I'm blown
yep,
away. And
yep.
it's because of doing that. So that makes absolute sense that professional athletes would be doing the weight training
They're
as
doing a
well,
lot of strength
not
training.
just
Yeah, no,
the
they're not just
running.
running. They're doing the strength.
Mhm.
Their coaches are running coaches. They're doing strength training to make their running faster. But that is why they're so toned. It's
Toned,
not, they're
yeah.
not just going out there and running every day. They're doing that too, but they're also training muscles. And so I just want you guys now, cardiovascular aerobic work is fantastic for your health. It's
Hmm.
great for your heart and your lungs. It's great to flush your blood. So it helps, like it's like a sprinkler system, like through your body, just moving things out with sweat.
Yeah.
That's how I want you to see it though, as a spiritual teacher. I don't want you to use cardio to beat running is great for mind control, right? It's great meditation. So if you're
Yes.
running, you love it, focus on that I am bringing more oxygen to my body. I am flushing my body. I'm challenging my mind. Don't you dare think about the calorie burn. In fact,
No.
if you are wearing one of those Apple Watches, I would suggest get an old, cheap stopwatch that you can put around
Mhm.
your wrist to time yourself.
Yeah, or just use your phone. That's what I do.
Do
I
not,
just use
that's
my
what I do
phone.
too, actually, is my phone when I
Uh,
go for runs. I don't even think about it's more important. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even think about miles or kilometers. Like do
No,
time because time is what's
that's what I do.
important. That's what's
Yeah.
keeping your body in a stimulated aerobic response for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. That's what's important. It's not necessarily about how slow you're running or how fast or the length you run. It's how your heart's reacting to it. So,
Yeah.
but if for weight loss, you guys, and toning, that's all gonna happen in the anaerobic. So, and
Mhm.
that's why a lot of the videos we do, Paula, I do both.
Yes.
Like
And I
I'm,
love that. And I love your classes so much because you mix in, so you do the warm up and you do a little bit of stretching and then you get into the workout and you're mixing them up with the different, both anaerobic and anaerobic. And then, you do some more stretching and then do a nice meditation at the end. And it's just such a balanced workout, and I always feel good at the end of it. And I love that, there are more challenging ones and then there are ones that are better for beginners, but all of your classes are all levels because you
yeah.
offer suggestions to people and you always say, like, if this is too complicated or if you can't do this right now, you're like, that's okay, you can work up to it, but just for now, just keep walking or just keep
Mhm.
moving,
You always just
just
just walk
keep.
in place. Don't ever
Yeah, just
stop.
walk in
We
place.
want to
Yeah.
keep the heart moving. We want to keep, so if things
Yeah.
in the video become overwhelming, just walk in place for a moment, watch it, join back in
Hmm.
when you can, and then try it again later. We were talking about some of the choreography. Sometimes I do add in some like little different choreography because it's working your brain, getting your
Yeah.
brain. And it takes
Yeah.
a couple of times to like
Yeah.
navigate
I'm
to.
like, okay, I can't do this right now, and I feel like an idiot, but it doesn't matter because no one's watching me
No one's
except for my
watching
dog.
you. And we were saying offline professional dancers, it takes them how long to learn a dance? A 3 minute
Yeah.
dance, right? So, and that's the yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So if your mind is focused on, okay, I put my foot here, I put my hand here, you're in meditation.
Hmm.
Because in that moment, probably you're not thinking about your laundry
No.
or you're trying to follow along with what's
Trying to
happening.
follow
It's
the
like the game of
steps. But
Twister, right? Like
it's stimulating your brain. And then the other great thing is that with these kind of strength training workouts, what we're learning is that that is the way to age well. That is how you're going to age well. I mean, man, some of these videos that we've been sharing on the Esoteric Academy Instagram page is blowing my mind. There
guys,
is like
please go follow us on
60,
Instagram because we
70.
are really dedicating
Yeah.
our Instagram page just to sharing like really phenomenal health information that also translates spiritually as well. So
Yes.
please
So
make
yes,
sure.
please follow us
I feel
on
bad for
Instagram.
Paula every time I see information like a new article. I just tag the academy
Oh
because
no, I'm glad you do. I love it
it is
because I'm
unbelievable
learning
some of the
so
stuff.
much and I'm loving sharing it as well because this is just amazing. This is what we need to know. This is the truth that has been hidden from us for so long. And they've just, turned it around and just made it us all punishing ourselves. But this is incredible. I mean, there's videos of, 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old males and females doing the
Doing
most
weightlifting competitions,
incredible.
you guys, like
It's amazing.
I swear to God,
Amazing.
I'm not, I've known this for a while, but since this Great Awakening, I think the one thing that you can do to take your power back, to take your health back, to take your money back, to take your sovereignty back is fucking exercise. Like that is
Yep.
literally what these statistics are telling us. It helps you learn better when you're exercising. We just released an article how about scientists are discovering that when you exercise, your brain literally rewires itself from trauma. So if you have
Mhm.
trauma, the best thing you can do is exercise.
Yeah.
And that's what the ancient yogis were telling us, right? Like
Isn't
this
it
time to get your
amazing?
shadow work.
It's amazing. And that's why I like to say that exercise is the med bed.
It
That
is.
that is
It
it.
is. You look at these
If
people, we've been sharing people like these, especially these women in their like 70s and 80s. I
they
shared
look
one of an
amazing.
81-year-old woman, and I was like, that's not what my grandmama looked like at 81. Like she was doing
It
pull-ups
is
at the gym. Like
incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. And they are aging so well. I'm just like, wow,
it is
that is and
unbelievable.
I'm so motivated now to exercise. Like,
I know,
even
right?
even a couple of months ago, I was struggling a little bit here and there to get up. Now I'm just like, hell no, I'm aging like this.
I'm
I'm
gonna be that
refused.
81-year-old doing pull-ups in a sports
Yeah,
bra with a six-pack. Like
hell yes.
it does not matter. It reverses your aging. It tightens your skin,
Yeah.
so there's not as much wrinkles. It
Oh,
literally like
yeah.
why do we need Botox when we can just go freaking get on the treadmill or the elliptical machine or do a strength training class? It also
Absolutely.
helps with dementia. So I
Yep.
women who are over the age of 40 like myself, if you are exercising consistently, like 4 or 5 days a week, you have lowered your chance of dementia by 90%.
Wow, that's incredible.
90%.
Yep.
That's not 20%. That's not 40. That's 90%. There's only a 10% chance. And that's because of
That's
everything
incredible.
that's your brain's being worked. It's unbelievable. Before we get into it too, my favorite account that I share, I've followed this girl for years now, is Abigail the Advocate. I
Oh,
would
I know.
love,
So
I want her
gorgeous.
to come speak at when we finally do a
Yeah.
retreat. I would love to have her come speak at our retreat.
Yes, that
My
would be so
favorite
inspirational.
my favorite video of hers is when it's showing a video of her and they're like, "What do you like to do?" And she says, "I love to exercise." And they go, "People with Down syndrome can't exercise." And she hits her head, and then it flips to a video of her finishing a triathlon, and she was
I
like,
know.
"I just finished this triathlon for the 18th time.
It's incredible.
It is unbelievable. And her father, if you look at her page, her dad coaches her and he's always like,
Oh,
no excuses.
yeah.
She's like, no excuses.
Yes,
No
yes. I remember her talking to him. Yeah. That's so
excuses.
gorgeous.
And
And
that's
so, oh yeah, no, sorry, you go,
go
Bryce.
ahead. No, no, no. We were just talking about later past episodes, like how the silly excuses people make up. And then there's
Yes.
Abigail, who has Down
And
syndrome, who's running, who's doing
exactly.
triathlons for like the 18th time. What?
Exactly. It's incredible. So you can't use excuses. And if your excuse is, oh, I'm getting too old now, there was one guy that we shared that was 60. That's when he started working out, was at 60 years of age. And it was showing him at 90. And it was incredible. He was buff, toned, looked incredible for his age. He was fit. He was working out. I'm like, we're young compared to that. If you're in your
If you're
30s, your 40s, your
breathing, you're
50s,
young enough to
don't
do this.
exactly. Don't say that you can't start because you're getting too old.
That's
No, start now. Start now.
I've learned in my this some stuff I've been doing offline, which I'll share later on. Paula knows, but I'm going to share that later on when I have prepared. But I've learned there's two belief systems. One that really signify if you're service to self or service to others. Being service to others is having a faith in God. Being service to self is having a faith in the system. What's the system? Believing every single lie that you've been told about yourself. So that's why it's so important. So if you believe the lie that you're too old to do this, or because you have a hangnail, you can't exercise, or because, you're not a good runner, or you sucked at PE, if you believe those lies, you're believing in the system.
Wow.
Because God is
Okay, well,
limitless.
that's not motivation to start
Isn't that
exercise.
wild? And it makes sense the more that's the matrix. You're just buying into the same matrix that the normies buy into.
Wow.
To believe in God, to have real, a true, not just that you say a lot of people say they believe in God,
Yeah,
but they're
yeah. But do
actions
you
say
actually have a
otherwise.
relationship?
Right.
Yeah.
And having that faith in God means that you don't have limit, that you don't believe in like, your limitations are self-imposed.
Absolutely.
Having an absolute faith in God means that, if you're buying into the med beds, then you've bought into the system.
hmm
That's not God. You already have everything in your body.
That
God
you
already
need.
gave you a med bed in your body, in your DNA, in your blood, in your. This Cassiopeans did talk about in one reading that they said that humans have not discovered yet that in our vascular system, we don't just carry blood and oxygen, there's an elixir, a spiritual
hmm
elixir. But the yogis have been talking about this. Like I've known this because it's in the yoga text that's 5,000 years old that there's an elixir that also runs with your blood. That's your med bed.
It's
That's what makes
incredible.
we talked about this I think with Jennifer, like
Yes.
when people start to exercise, they start to glow. Their skin starts to glow. Their skin clears up. Their eyes look clearer. Their nails
hmm
look better. They just look healthier. That's that spiritual elixir that's pulsating through the body. You already have that. Why are you going to take it from something else? Believing in the system is believing something outside of yourself, basically, because God is within.
Yeah. And you're not going to get those same results from not actually doing the work. Yeah, you could hop into a med bed and have those changes and you might look good for a time, but how long is that going to last? Because it's not coming from within.
Right?
Whereas if
It's not
you're
your course correcting.
actually working out, you're activating that elixir in your body, you're sharpening your brain, it's coming through your skin. It's just the health is coming from within.
From within.
Nothing
It's
can
where
replace
God
that.
lives. That's where the
It
love
doesn't matter.
shines through.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what supplements you take and what things you do. If you're not activating that through exercise, through movement, there is no other way
This
around
is
getting
this
it.
is literally it, guys. This is if you go
Yeah.
on our Academy page and you look at all those articles, like exercise is literally it. Like that is literally it's going to course correct bad eating. It's going to course
Yeah.
correct any of these that you've gotten in the past. It's going to course correct everything.
Any
I mean, that is
trauma you've been
literally what
through.
you need to do to free yourself is to exercise. That is literally it. That is
And
it.
it changes your life because
It
when you make that promise to yourself to get up early, and to start your day this way, you're building trust with yourself. And this is how discipline works. It's not people are not just born with discipline.
Oh
It's a
God, no. Oh God,
training.
no. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a training. And then every day that you get up and you follow through, even if you just start off with 5 minutes a day, who cares? And just work your way up. But the fact that you get up and show up every day, you're proving that trust and building that self-resilience. And then you start to notice other changes in your life because, when I exercise more, I naturally want to eat better.
Yeah.
It
You
just I
crave
don't even
foods
think
that want
about
to,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because discipline is the highest form of self-respect and self-love. And if you're
Mhm.
strong in yourself, guess what? You become getting up and doing, or even if you can't do it in the morning, do it in the afternoon, whenever you're doing it.
Yeah, whenever it works for you.
And strengthening you is the highest form of service to others because you're putting yourself in a position to be of service to others, to have
Yeah.
the energy to help other people. It's like
Mhm.
putting the oxygen mask on yourself first so that you can have that to help others. So
Yeah.
laying around and doing nothing is the biggest service to self. It's laziness, it's selfishness on your part. It's if you have children, it's putting yourself in a position where your kids are going to have to take care of you when you're old. And
Mhm.
most parents don't want that. I know you don't want that, Paula. I don't want my nieces and
Yeah.
nephews. I mean, I laugh about them having to come wipe my butt when I'm old because I wiped theirs when they was babies. But I don't want them to have to do that. Like, I don't want them to have to go take care of their crazy Aunt Bryce when they're in the prime of their life and they should be living the prime of their life. I want them to know that Aunt Bryce is fine. She could take care of herself, you know?
Exactly.
And so that is so important, you guys. It is, and before we get into the article, that kind of brings to one little thing I wanted to mention. I know you have to leave at a certain time, so we'll see how we get to this article, guys. But this is the idea. I'm going to just go ahead and pull it up. But the idea of coddling, I've gotten some comments before because the C's are very blunt in a lot of ways, and so am I. But you guys, that's the truth. When we coddle, we don't grow. So
Yeah.
if you're in a spiritual discipline and you think you're in a spiritual discipline where you're having smoke blown up your ass and you're being coddled, you're in the system. Like we were like I look at some of these comments, I'm like, wow, you guys are really, really weak and thin-skinned.
Yeah.
You freak out when somebody challenges your opinion on something and you have a meltdown. Holy shit. Like you guys, the truth doesn't care about your feelings. Because facts are facts. Feelings
Mhm.
are feelings. The truth
Yeah.
doesn't coddle your feelings. And I look at some of the comments gonna get, I'm like, wow, you guys wouldn't last a day in India.
No.
You wouldn't even last 5 minutes
No.
because your
And that's what I
ego
was
is
saying to
so
you off camera is that what if you think about these mystery schools and different initiations that priestesses and priests have gone through is it's brutal, it's hard, like
brutal.
they go through like near death experiences because that's you've got to go to that point to break through and have those awakenings and to push your limits and to grow. It just doesn't happen from not being able to handle somebody being blunt with you. Like, wow.
So if you're getting your feelings hurt
Mhm.
because of things the C's say or because Paul and I say the med beds aren't good, if that's causing you to have a temper tantrum, then you are not awake and you are not on the spiritual path. Because part of spirituality is humility and learning that we always laugh in Ashtanga that the easiest students to teach are the beginners and the advanced students, because both the beginners and the advanced students know that they know nothing.
Mhm.
They know nothing. So it's easy for them to take teaching. The intermediate students get all pissy and think they know everything. So if you guys like, I mean, it is literally baffling to me that the fragile state of people's egos, and I think Paula, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with our, because we have 99.9% of our audience is amazing and they're on our page and they get it and they want the truth, they want the hard truth, they want to work through it, they want that suffering, they want to work with, that's the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, that suffering is why you came here, because that's
Mhm.
what gets you to change. That's what gets you to face reality and clarity because pain is real. They understand that. But when I look at some of these comments I get when it's like, holy shit, you guys are babies. Like you are literal infantile babies that cannot handle being told the truth. And you
Yeah.
think I'm
And
blunt?
that's what
I'm
society
nothing.
is becoming like that. People can't handle anything. I mean,
It's
the stuff that our grandparents went through and put up with and stuff. Today, yeah, society's just become so soft. You
like
can't say
holy shit. Like
one
you would have,
thing.
they would
You
have
can't say anything wrong. You can't even not identify somebody the correct way and they get all upset. And it's like, well, how are we supposed to know what you're identifying as?
and that's just
I
the
don't
same
know.
in the truther world. Like I've been laughing about this. Like the truthers sit there and make fun of their normie friends for believing the TV, but yet
But
the truther
yeah,
world can't handle the truth either. They
no.
freak out just as much. My boyfriend and I actually came to the conclusion that the woke left, that
Hmm.
group, the woke left, well, the truther community is the woke side of the right. They behave the same way, where
Yeah.
they cannot self-reflect. If you consider yourself a truther and you cannot self-reflect, you cannot handle somebody having a different opinion and giving you receipts as to why they feel a certain way. If it causes you to freak the fuck out and to get in the comment section and start hurling abuses at me or other people, or being manipulative by using God as a way to justify your false beliefs, I would be concerned if I were you because I
Yeah.
don't know if you're going to ascend, honey. You might be going back to third density. Like, and that's fine if you do, but have you allowed your mind to be controlled? Are you allowing your mind to be controlled by the truther community with something outside of you? So the truther
Mhm.
community is something outside of you. Are you allowing, like, just like the normies allow the media to control them? Or are you taking the information and self-reflecting on it? And that's what
Yeah.
exercise does for you, is it
It
helps
does.
you do that
Yeah.
self-reflection. And so I just want to tell you guys, like, and please, I had one person leave a very disturbing comment where they're like, and I say this wishing you what light and love. Do not wish me or anybody light and love. That is the most service to self thing you can do, is to wish
Mhm.
somebody light and love. And you're
Yeah.
using that as a form of manipulation because
And
your
and
feelings
also
got hurt.
I just think that if you're triggered by something, then that's a really big clue that that's something that you need to work on, that you need to look at and just sit with for a while and just have a think about, why is that triggering me? Why is that upsetting me? Why do these emotions come up? And then that's where you can explore and go further with it, because you can't control other people. People are allowed to have their own thoughts and feelings and are
Yeah.
allowed to share information, and it's up to you what you do with that information. But
It's
I
like
just
the
think it's
most with the med beds, Paula. People get very upset by these fictional med beds that aren't, how long are you going to wait? Like, it's pretty obvious they
I
aren't
mean,
coming, first of all. Second of all, like, as Paula said, there's a famous saying, wherever you go, there you are. So even
yeah,
if the med beds were to fix your weight issues, make you look younger, fix your health issues, when you come out of that med bed, you're going to be the same person on the inside.
yeah, your problems aren't going anywhere
You're
because you're not
suffering,
dealing with them.
your anger, your projection isn't going to go anywhere because you haven't
It's
worked on
like that, what's everybody taking at the moment? Ozempic.
it.
It's like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It sounds pretty awful to me. I mean, it sounds like people are really, really sick from it, and then they're losing weight because they can't eat because they feel so nauseous all the time. I mean,
God, it's awful.
yeah.
And if you believe, again, if you
Um,
believe you can't exercise because of some pansy excuse, and I'm sorry to say pansy ass excuse, I mean, we've showed videos of people who are paraplegics in
yeah,
wheelchairs doing sit-ups with their wheelchair attached to them with a 12 pack. There's literally no excuse.
yeah,
And when people
that's
try to
right.
give me excuses, I just frankly just tune out because I'm just like, how pathetic is this? How pathetic is this? Like, I don't care if you run a mile in 20 minutes. If you're moving your body, then I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
If you're trying to give
Yeah,
me some,
honestly, like just start with walking.
yeah,
You don't have to be good at anything. I'm not very good at sport at all, but I'm still moving and I'm feeling so much better from doing it.
and I'm thinking like, how entitled are you to be upset that you can't have a get out of jail free card, a magical med bed, And you're so upset that somebody's telling you that you have to lash out like, ah, wow, wow, this is crazy. So
Mm.
anyway, with that being said, I guess we should get into it. But if the Cassiopeians hurt your feelings, that's your problem.
Yeah, it's not really much we can do about it if you're upset by it.
That's your
It's
trigger. Don't project your trigger out on other people because that's just even for everybody who's left a nasty comment because you've got your feelings hurt by the Cassiopeians or by me or by a guest, and you project that onto that's just more karma for you to that you're just building more karma for yourself.
Mhm.
That's all that's happening. So if I were you, I would use that as you don't think I get triggered. I get triggered all the time. But
Yeah,
I know that's what that is. And so I go,
yeah,
ah, let me work on this. Ah, let me
yeah.
work on this.
I know that now that that's my cue, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, there's something there
And
I
I
need to
will
look at.
say, don't be manipulative. When you leave a nasty comment and someone responds and puts a boundary up and says, no, this is you manipulating, don't then come back and say, well, you're being, no, no, no. That's a sign of narcissism. That's what narcissists do. When you get upset and you try to hurt somebody, you start to smack them virtually or hurt somebody, and that person puts up a boundary and says no, then the narcissist will say, ah, you're being mean because you put a boundary up. Mm-mm. We're not going to play those that I'm not that is a that type of narcissistic game is not a game I'm willing to play. I will block you so fast. I will block you so fast because that's gaslighting. And yeah, and I've seen a lot of people do that. They get upset, they get in the comment section, they hurl abuse, and the minute I say, we're not going to play this game, they then try to turn it on me. That's what narcissists do. That's a narcissistic trait. You're not allowed to come into my community and bully people and then get upset when you're told you can't bully people
Yeah,
and call me a bully because I'm telling you you can't bully people. Have some
I can bully
self-respect.
Bryce. Jeez,
It's
you're so
crazy.
mean.
And telling you the truth isn't bullying you guys. Like just telling you that your opinions might be wrong isn't bullying you.
Yeah,
Giving you tough love isn't bullying you.
no, and we're
No,
just sharing information. Yeah.
no. Yeah, trust me. You guys don't even want to know things that have been said to me in the 19 years that I've been on this path. So don't even start with that. Like you guys have gotten rays of sunshine compared to what most people go through. So anyway, with that being said, we want to get into it, Paula.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
So we're going through these articles, and I'm going to have Paula read. So this is part 4, the Grail Quest, the Destiny of Man, and we skipped over some because, frankly, when Laura
Yeah, some of them were a little bit boring.
and when she's and it's just a waste of time to read the stuff about time, no pun intended there, because we're never going to understand time. It's not time for outside of our world. We're the only density that has a quantum. We're the only density that has like a spiritual world because we have a veil. And so anything outside of third density, that realm, we're not going to understand. There's no point in trying to like math it out or science it out because we're never going to understand it. So that's why I'm skipping over some articles. You are welcome to go back and read some of
Yeah.
the articles, but
Yeah, because they're all
not
there on the forum, free for you guys to look at.
yeah. So yeah, actually this might be a good one for us to read too at some point. I just noticed that one. So do you want
Yeah.
to read, Paula?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so a number of years ago, I came across an interesting book entitled The Gods of Eden by William Bramley. I picked it up and read the blurbs on the front and the back and inside covers. The back of the book claims, as a result of 7 years of intensive research, William Bramley has uncovered the sinister thread that links humanity's darkest events, from the wars of the ancient pharaohs to the assassination of JFK. In this remarkable, shocking, and absolutely compelling work, Bramley represents disturbing evidence of an alien presence on Earth, extraterrestrial visitors who have conspired to dominate humankind through violence and chaos since the beginning of time, a conspiracy which continues to this very day. I feel like I've read this one before.
Have
We
we?
definitely haven't we definitely haven't covered this one though, have we?
Okay, because I was like, I don't know if I don't think I've covered this one.
Okay, cool. It just sounds familiar to me, so I don't know if it's because I read it already. Well, sure, I'll buy it. The book that is not necessarily the idea, I thought. Bramley tells us in the beginning that he originally set out to research the origins of human warfare, not UFOs. So he made a point in my rating scale for having no ostensible agenda for or against ETs or their motivations in his work. As a general rule, I find my clues in books that are not about conspiracies or aliens or with any axes to grind that are immediately apparent. He then goes on to postulate that war can be its very own valuable commodity, and that war can be an effective tool for maintaining social and political control over a large population. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Bramley next writes, in the 16th century, Italy consisted of numerous independent principalities which were often at war with one another. When a prince conquered a neighboring city, he would sometimes breed internal conflicts among the vanquished citizens. This was an effective way to maintain political control over the people because the endless squabbling prevented the vanquished people from engaging in unified action against the conqueror. It did not greatly matter over what issues the people bickered so long as they valiantly struggled against one another and not against the conquering prince.
And I'm gonna ask
Bramley
you
knows.
guys, go and see my Borgia playlist. We talk a
Yeah,
lot about this. Yeah.
that was so fascinating. This is, of course, pure Machiavelli. But there is something else about Machiavelli that is important. Machiavelli saw religion and its teachings of faith, hope, charity, love, humility, and patience under suffering as factors that render men weak and cause them to care less about worldly and political things. And thus they will turn political power over to wicked men who are not influenced by such ideals. There is a deep truth here that applies to us at many levels. And clearly, somebody realized this early on, and our standard religions are the result of this dive to render us not only powerless, but blind and apathetic to real threats, and ever on the march against chimerical threats that have no basis in reality.
So that's that believing in the system. They create a system
Yeah.
which renders us powerless. And guys, Machiavelli, his book, The Prince, was about Cesare Borgia. So again, I'll tag those body videos down below, but this is
Oh,
legit. Like, yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Another of Machiavelli's ideas is that a religion is good only if it supports the state and contributes to state ends. By using religion, one can give divine sanction to laws which people would otherwise have no reason to obey. Therefore, the state must control the teachings of the church. Still, another teaching of Machiavelli is the political leader must appear to be religious, even though he does not believe in nor practice religion.
Yep.
Interesting. Machiavelli writes, to see and hear the prince, he should seem to be all mercy, faith, integrity, humanity, and religion. For men in general judge more by the eyes than the heads, for everyone can see, but very few have to feel. Let a prince therefore aim at conquering and maintaining the state, and the means will always be judged honourable and praised by everyone, for the vulgar is always taken in by appearances. The prince.
Which I literally just referenced that. Yeah, the Prince was based off of Cesare Borgia, who was the son of the Pope. The Borgias were horrific. Horrific.
Yeah. Another precept of a successful domination of humanity is love is held by a chain of obligation which, men being selfish, is broken whenever it serves their purpose, but fear is maintained by a dread of punishment which never fails. From the Prince. Violence, says Machiavelli, is an effective means of holding on to power. Violence must be used quickly and mercilessly because violence can engender hatred, and hatred can make a person willing even to sacrifice his life in order to gain revenge. When a new leader comes to power, he should be quick to suppress opposition with complete ruthlessness. Cut it off quickly and cleanly. The new ruler should then seek out and cultivate the minority groups that were oppressed under the preceding administration to use them as a foundation of support. And as far as possible, a prince should get someone else to do the injuries for him so that any hatred that might arise will then be directed at the perpetrator of the violence and not at the prince. A regime based upon the support of the masses is more stable than one based upon the support of the aristocracy. I can't say it for some reason. Therefore, a prince should found his support on the people rather than the nobility. The politically sophisticated nobility is more likely to suspect the motives of the prince, to distrust his actions, and to look for hidden meanings. Since they are less trusting, they are less manageable and hence more likely to resist. Power and authority can most easily obtained where people obey because they believe that obedience is morally appropriate. Machiavelli taught that authority is preferable to coercion because coercion is a terribly inefficient method to compel obedience. It requires enormous resources to hold a gun against the head of the masses, because in the end, raw power is inadequate in holding a whole population in line by the use of force. Sorry, I just realized I said that word then.
Yeah, it's okay. I think we're for further in the episode to worry about this, but
Okay.
I want to highlight this. Power and authority can be most easily obtained where people obey because they believe that obedience is morally appropriate.
Yeah.
We not only see this with the normies, but we also see this in the truther community.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And it just blows me away how nasty people can get about certain things, like even during the COVID time, just how nasty people could become if you didn't have, you know,
If you didn't follow
the,
the system.
yeah, if you didn't go along with wearing the masks
Yeah,
and doing all of that stuff, and people would just like wouldn't let you near them.
right.
I yeah,
It's
just
yeah,
and
it's
also the way that some of the police forces behaved and treated people was disgusting.
makes you
I was
understand how the Yahtzees were able to get away with what they got away with.
absolutely, and this is what programming does to
Yep.
people for
It's
their
because they have faith in
beliefs.
the system.
Yeah, they just believe so strongly in that, and it's just yeah, it really blows me away.
This has been done, man. This happened. This guy was writing in like the late 1400s, early 1500s. Like this has been
Yeah,
happening for a long ass time. And
it's not
that's why
new.
we
Yeah.
study history so we don't repeat it. And it's
Mhm.
like people want something to believe in, and they want it, it's like human. This is what Patanjali says in the Yoga Sutras is why humans suffer. We're looking, not only do we believe that we as in our carnations right now are the end all be all, that causes us to suffer because our incarnations are just the experience of now, but we also are looking for validation for existence through something outside of ourselves.
Mhm.
So that's why I've learned, and again, I'll get into that later on, guys, of how who I've been talking to about this, but that service to self side is believing in the system, is looking for
Mhm.
security in the system, whatever that might be. So for the normies, that's the TV, that's what the government tells you to do, what the health officials tell you to do. For the truthers, that's believing and doing exactly what the truthers tell you to do. The
Yeah.
Bible is one of the most systematic books in the world that support the system,
Mhm.
right? And obviously, if you really look at the Bible objectively, absolutely it supports the system.
Of
It doesn't
course.
support a faith in God.
No.
You have an absolute faith in God, you're looking at yourself. That's why these old ancient mystery schools had exercise as their foundation, because when you're in uncomfortable friction in your body, you're having to really rely on yourself.
You are. And it
And you,
humbles you.
yes, and you have to understand your own. It's come that power to keep going, that resilience is coming from within. It's not being rewarded from anything outside of yourself.
Mhm.
You know, And that's important. So I think that's something that we should all kind of like ask ourselves. Do I believe in a system when it comes to this particular topic in my life? Or am I having faith in God? Like we've clarified,
Yeah.
people can go to church and do these things and participate in the matrix and still not believe in the system. In fact, there are a lot of people that go to church, that pay their taxes, that participate in the matrix, but they're doing it, they're not invested in it as they do it.
Yeah.
They're just
And I
doing it
think
because they have to do it.
a good clue is how you treat people, because even going back to the situation that we were in a few years ago, it's not just the normies that were treating
Oh
the
no, the truthers are nasty
they
people.
were just as bad. I
Yeah.
mean, they put up signs on their businesses saying that you're not welcome to come in if you are. You've
Yeah, the
got that
truthers are some
because of the
the cruelest
shedding and
people. Yeah, there's a
yeah.
cruelty. And
And it just amazes me how people can just be so cruel
yeah,
about and the way they're treating, and that is not of God. If
no, and that's
you
believing in a system. So if you've
yeah,
rejected, this or this, but yet you're believing in a med bed, you're still in the system.
and if you're treating people like dirt because maybe they did get that, that's just as bad.
You're in
Like
the system. Yeah. If you're
people,
freaking out in the comment section because somebody has said something you don't agree with or it hurts your feeling, that means you're in the system. Like you're because your system has been the system outside of yourself. Somebody's challenging that, right? So like when we challenge the medbed perspective, that's somebody's belief in the system. There's a system outside of themselves that they're believing in to save them. And when you challenge that, that rocks their religion basically. That becomes their religion for lack of a better word. And
yeah,
so that's
and I
why they
think
freak
it
out.
it, it rocks them because their belief is out there.
Yeah, it's not
Because
in here,
when
it's out
when
there.
you when you do the work on yourself and you humble yourself, you start to have more compassion and patience for people,
Yeah.
and you start to see, that everybody has a beautiful spark within them, no matter what religion they are, no matter what color their skin is, no matter who or what, everybody is a divine being of God. We
Yeah.
are all beautiful beings and we all deserve to be treated with respect and with love, no matter what. But people that are so focused on the beliefs that are out there,
Whatever
if
that
you,
is for them. Yeah.
whatever that is, it doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on. If people are not following the rules and the guidelines of that system, they can't cope and they're
Yeah. You
seen as
can't.
bad. Whereas if you really have done the work on yourself and you really are a person of God who really truly believes in an unconditional loving God, then that wouldn't bother you.
No.
You're just not triggered by that kind of stuff. It just
Yeah.
doesn't faze
If
you.
you really believe what you believe, then you're not going to be bothered by somebody else challenging that.
Yeah.
And the fact, and so, because if you really have a faith in God, even if you do believe in a med bet, but you really have a faith in God, and someone brings you evidence that maybe your belief, your opinion is a little skewed, you're going to be able to listen to it.
Yeah.
And so
I
it's,
mean,
and
look,
I
I was
love
pretty
that.
shocked to hear about the medbed situation at first too, because I thought, oh, that would be cool, for people to help get people better. But then when you hear what the cost is, I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
hell no, I'm not
The cost of
interested.
that, guys, if you haven't seen those videos with whistleblowers, please go to Gnostic TV. It's free. It's in the description box below, and you can look at my episode where we talk about med beds and what actually is required to run a med bed.
Yeah. And it's
It's
just
like, well,
not
I haven't even, the
not
Diddy
worth it.
trial ended yesterday, and I'm not even really, I don't even want to talk about it because I expected that to happen.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because we're still in a war. But we have
Mm,
people in the truther community that have bought into the system, the belief of the system that all these bad guys have capitulated. And that's just simply not true. It's
mm,
not true. But the
no,
system,
because
the deep state, did a really good job hoodwinking you guys again, making you
yeah,
fall for the lie, which is soul smashing, right? I knew that he was going to probably get off
yeah,
because this
I kind
because
of
the
had a feeling
system is in
too.
charge. The
Yeah,
bad
because
guys
if
would
it
know.
wasn't,
Do what?
the world would be looking very different right now.
Right.
If all these people had really capitulated, the world would be looking so different right
It's
now.
exactly. And maybe it's not time for the world to flip yet. Maybe we still need, I hate to say it that way, but maybe we still got to suffer some more. Maybe we still have lessons we need to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like things might need to get a little bit worse before they get better because
That's what
it
really
just
jolts people into action.
exactly, it's that pain and that suffering.
Has
And
people
even though
question the system.
yeah, it's not enjoyable,
The truthers need to
but
start questioning their system, their truther system.
yeah, I really
I had somebody, we left a comment in one of our videos about how we said, we talked about how last week, how wanderers, if you're a wanderer, which when we ascend, the wanderers will also leave and go back home, go back to their own density. Well, someone's like, I don't see, because they would be here to help. Well, that's ego based. So if you think that a wanderer has to stay in fourth density to help, that's the wanderers interfering with people's free will. Once we
mm,
flip into fourth, there's no veil, first of all. There's no veil anymore. So everyone's going to know everything anyway. And second of all, um, the wanderers don't need help because
yeah,
you've gotten where you need to go. Now you've got to develop that strength in fourth density. The wanderers can't do it for you.
mhm,
You have to do it for yourself. So we have to be careful about that. Like, I always say, what do I say over and over again, Paula? A teacher's job is to eventually not be needed.
mhm, yeah,
If you want to dominate somebody, then stay around and help them to the point of them needing help.
yeah,
But if you want to help somebody, the Cassiopeians don't tell us what to do. They help us. They help us with what's going on. But there are many times with questions that they've asked that they won't answer because that would infringe on our free will. So you
yeah,
got it. And that's the whole light and love thing, right? When you're praying for somebody or are wishing someone light and love and they haven't asked you to do that, then you are infringing upon their free will. You're trying to dominate them by your belief system. Yeah? Bless
yeah.
you.
You're taking away, oh, thanks. You're taking away their opportunity to learn and grow from a situation.
Yeah. And so we have to be very careful about that. Where is your ego? Are you wishing people light and love because you feel like you know what's best for a person?
Yeah, and it's so easy to get caught up in that where we think that our way is the best way and we know what's right for people, but we honestly don't because everyone's soul, you have no idea what somebody else's soul has. We don't even know what our own soul has chosen to learn. We
Right.
just got to kind of use the clues that we've been given and kind of figure it out. So I just think, yeah, quit worrying about other people and their soul mission. Let them figure it out and figure out your own.
Like pay attention to your own backyard first, right?
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
trust me, guys, like I would love to go on all these churches' YouTube channels and just give them a what for. And just drop all the receipts in the comment section of how fucked up these church YouTube channels are. But I never do that. I
But
restrain
what,
myself from
you know,
doing
at the
that
end of the
because
day, what are you going to gain from that? You know,
they
like
have
if you
people
were to do
right.
that,
They can
yeah,
have
okay, you might be right about that, or you might be wrong, or whatever. But I'm just, what are you going to gain from that? And I just feel like, you don't do that because you
none
are
of my
sure
business. Yeah.
you, yeah, but you also have your strong relationship with God within yourself.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
don't have the need to prove to other people what's right and what's wrong or whatever you believe because you know that within you with such a
Well, and with
strong inner
my channel,
knowing.
on my channel too, guys, like this is my channel. I'm going to speak my opinion on my channel, and I'm going to bring people on
Yeah,
who have different opinions from me on my channel. But I'm
yeah,
not
because it's your
forcing this
channel.
information onto you. You're choosing
Yeah.
to be here, right? I've had people say that to me in the comment sections too. Well, you're on my channel. That's like someone coming over to my house and getting mad
Yeah.
because I have a bunch of books on Hinduism. Like you're on my channel. You can turn this off. I'm
Hmm.
not inflicting
Make
on
your
your
point.
free will at all because this is my channel. You
Yeah,
choose
and
whether
your
you hit
choice to
play
listen.
or stop.
Yeah.
You can't come into my house and then tell me how I'm supposed to run my house. That's you inflicting on my free. It's not the other way around. It's not,
Hmm.
that's manipulation. It's not the other way around. If you don't like what's being said, you can leave. I'm not forcing you to stay here. But I'm not going to go on somebody else's channel that I haven't been if I'm invited onto someone's channel where I'm invited just to share
Then that's
my
different.
research, I'm invited there to do that. for a reason,
Mhm.
right? And so I
And you
think
can do that in a polite way, you know?
yes, but I think this is like the crux. Power and authority can be easily attained where people obey because they believe
And
that obedience is morally appropriate.
yeah, and isn't that just so incredibly powerful? Like, what an incredibly powerful manipulation for them to use. Like, so clever.
So clever. So
Because
clever.
because when it's in that situation, people what's the word? You know, they'll
They'll self-censor,
yeah,
they'll walk away from their own internal
they'll
dialogue.
dob on their neighbors,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, look at
just for that.
what happened in the Middle Ages with the church. The church did not spread its power across Europe because it was the good news of Jesus.
No,
Are you fucking no? We're not stupid. It was because they were torturing
trying
people.
to dominate. Yeah.
They were
And
boiling them, burning them. I mean, that's what the Roman
very
Empire was famous
cruel.
for doing, was boiling people.
Oh,
It wasn't because of the love. So people became obedient, and then it became a moral obligation to be obedient to the system, to the
yeah,
beast.
they were forced into it.
Yeah. So, do you want to keep going? If you're tired of reading, you can
Yeah.
let me know.
You know, that's all good. So therefore, an astute prince would harness the power of emotions and manage the passions rather than guide men through reason.
That's literally what we opened with, right? Like
Yeah.
tough love.
Yes.
Spirituality isn't coddling you. It's not light butterflies and sparkles. It's kind of dark.
Yeah.
So an astute prince, so a manipulator, would rather harness the power of emotions and manage the passion. So coddle you. You're right. You're so smart. You don't have to exercise. You're perfect. You don't have to work on yourself. You woke up. So therefore, you deserve everything. Instead of saying, okay, no, we got to look at this reasonably. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? The prince must make use of the human passions of love, hate, fear, desire for glory and power, and even boredom. So think about all of this for a moment. What system is in place today that fits all of the above criteria for domination and control? Take your time, think carefully and objectively. No rush here.
There's so
I
many
have been,
systems.
yeah,
I mean, the biggest
I've
one is
been,
the church, right? And the governments and
yeah, so many. I have been working for many years digging into studies of ancient man that few people other than professional scholars know exist, much less have the desire or patience to examine. Not being constrained by any formal program of study, I have been more or less free to include any and all material that strikes me as important. I have gone through literally thousands of books on archaeology, paleontology, sociology, psychology, history, language, religion, mythology, physics, chemistry, and on and on and on. One day soon, I will put together a list of all the material I have read that has contributed to the development of the ideas presented in these pages. I have read volumes that are considered accepted and those that are fringe. In selecting what I read, I have realized fully that very often it is the gifted amateur who is not obligated to write for his supper who comes up with the most innovative and insightful ideas. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty true, isn't it?
yeah.
But, but at the same time, I appreciate the rigor of directed studies and the constraints of academia. It is a delicate middle ground to tread, but provides a marvelous balance. Out of all of this study and work and thinking, there is a singular problem that emerges as being the turning point on which all of the ideas that presently dominate our world view revolve. Monotheism, the dominator mode of the one God over and against all other gods, who establishes a covenant with his people, whether they enter into this covenant by being circumcised or baptized or just born again in their hearts. How did this come to be? Bramley writes, much of the Old Testament is devoted to describing the origins and early history of the Hebrew Bible. According to the Bible, the Hebrews descended from a clan which lived in the Sumerian city of Ur around 2000 to 1500 BC. The clan was befriended and ruled by a personality named Jehovah. The Bible claims that Jehovah was God. Jehovah was clearly an important character in the Bible. Who was he? Was Jehovah God, as the Bible alleges? Was he a myth? As skeptics with secular orientation would have us believe, Jehovah appears to have been neither. The name Jehovah comes from the Hebrew word Yahweh, meaning that he that is, or the self-evident. This appellation conveys the idea that the biblical Jehovah was a pure spiritual being, a true supreme being, if you will. But was he?
I'm going to pause
Old
here and
Test.
let you guys
Oh, yeah.
know that in the missing books of the Bible, which
Mhm.
this Bromley guy probably, I don't know if he had access to those books, we know that Yahweh is Moloch. It's the same word for Moloch, which is why we still baptize babies in the church today. It's a Canaanite practice of offering our children for sacrifice, anointing them for sacrifice. To Yahweh or Jehovah or Moloch, we also know in the missing books of Moses that Jehovah can be called upon for demonic assistance. So I just want to put that out there because that's in the missing books of the Bible.
Yeah. Old Testament descriptions of Jehovah have provided a field day for UFO writers, and for good reason. Jehovah traveled through the sky in what appears to have been a noisy, smoking aircraft. See Genesis 9, 16 to 19, 20, 18, and then Exodus 13, 21 to 22, 14, 24. Okay, I'll just, yeah. I'm not very good.
Look in the Old Testament Bible. Yeah.
Yeah, look at the autism. These ancient Hebrew eyewitnesses responsible for the descriptions were not able to get a closer look at Jehovah. The Bible points out that no one was permitted to approach Jehovah's mountaintop landing sites except Moses and a few select leaders. Jehovah had threatened to kill anyone else who tried. Well, that's a loving God for you. The early Bible, therefore, contains only descriptions of Jehovah as eyewitnesses saw him from a distance. It was not until much later that one of the Bible's most famous prophets, Ezekiel, was able to get a closer look and describe Jehovah in greater detail. Ezekiel's description is probably the most often quoted biblical passage in UFO literature. The first portion of Ezekiel's vision resembles earlier biblical descriptions of Jehovah, a moving fiery object in the sky emitting smoke. As the object moved closer, Ezekiel was able to observe that the thing was made of metal. Out of the metal object emerged several human-like creatures, apparently wearing metal boots and ornamental helmets. Their wings appeared to be retractable engines, which emitted a rumbling sound and helped the creatures to fly. Their heads were covered by glass or something transparent that reflected the sky above. They appeared to be in some sort of circular vehicle or a vehicle with wheels. We can safely conclude that the passage in Ezekiel that Jehovah was not a supreme being. He appears to have been a succession of custodial management teams operating over a time span of many human generations. To enforce human obedience, those teams used their aircraft to perpetrate the lie that they were God. The custodial teams, known as Jehovah, helped the Brotherhood of the Snake embark on a program of conquest to spread the new one God religion. Moses, the man chosen to command the Hebrew tribes on their exodus out of Egypt to the Promised Land, was a high-ranking member of the Brotherhood. One hint of this fact comes from the Bible itself, in which we are told how Moses was raised as a child. And Moses became learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds. Egyptian historian and high priest Manetho from 300 BC, states that Moses had received much of his education in the Brotherhood under Akhenaten, the very pharaoh who pioneered monotheism. There is a new and interesting hypothesis about the identity of Moses that has been presented by Sir Lawrence Gardner, which is that Moses himself was Akhenaten.
Yep.
Gardner writes in his Bloodline of the Holy Grail. Two of the most intriguing characters of the Old Testament are Joseph and Moses. Each played an important role in the formation of the Hebrew nation, and both have historical identities that can be examined quite independently of the Bible. Genesis 41:39 to 43 tells how Joseph was made governor of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And he made him rule over all the land of Egypt. Yet for all of this status and prominence, neither Joseph nor Moses appear in any Egyptian record under either of those names. Interesting.
Yeah.
The Annals of Ramesses II specify that Semitic people were settled in the land of Goshen. It is further explained that they went there from Canaan for want of food. But why should Ramesses' scribes mention this settlement at Goshen? According to Standard Bible chronology, I can't say it.
Chronology.
Yeah, chronology. Oh my God. The Hebrews went to Egypt some 3 centuries before the time of Ramesses and made their exodus in about 1491 BC, long before he came to the throne. So, by virtue of this first-hand scribal record, the Standard Bible chronology, as generally promoted, is seen to be incorrect. No surprise there.
Yeah, most of the Bible is incorrect, so.
Yeah. It's so fascinating though, all of this. Like I love learning about,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean,
the
it's
different.
obvious. The Bible is not the
Yeah,
word of God. It's pretty obvious at this point. It's
yeah,
manufactured.
absolutely. It is traditionally presumed that Joseph was sold into slavery in Egypt in the 1720s BC and was made governor by the pharaoh a decade or so later. Afterwards, his father Jacob, Israel, and 70 family members followed him into Goshen to escape the famine in Canaan. Notwithstanding this, Genesis 47:11, Exodus 1:11, and Numbers 33:3 all refer to the land of Ramesses in Egyptian, the house of Ramesses. This was a complex of grain storehouses built by the Israelites for Ramesses II in Goshen, some 300 years after they were supposedly there. It transpires, therefore, Joseph went to Egypt not in the early 18th century BC, but in the early 15th century BC. There he was appointed chief minister to Thutmose
Yeah.
IV. Yep. To the Egyptians, however, Joseph the Vizier was known as Yuya, and his story is particularly revealing, not just in relation to the biblical account of Joseph, but also in respect of Moses. The Cairo-born historian and linguist Ahmed Osman has made an in-depth study of these personalities in their contemporary Egyptian environment, and his findings are of great significance, and that Nefertiti was half Hebrew.
Yeah.
When Pharaoh Thutmose died, sorry if I'm like saying words wrong, his son married his sister Sitamen, as was the pharaonic tradition, so that he could inherit the throne as Pharaoh Amenhotep III. Kingship was based on being married to the representative of the goddess, transferred through the female line. How interesting. Shortly afterwards, he also married Tai, a daughter of the chief minister Joseph.
To Joseph from the Bible.
yeah. It was decreed, however, that no son born to Tai could inherit the throne because of the overall length of her father Joseph's governorship. There was a general fear that the Israelites were gaining too much power in Egypt. So when Tai became pregnant, the edict was given that her child should be killed at birth if a son. Tai's Jewish relatives lived at Goshen, and she herself owned a summer palace a little upstream at Zar,
Paula?
where she, yeah, where she went to have her baby. She did indeed bear a son, but the royal midwives conspired with Tai to float the child downstream in a reed basket to the house of her father's half-brother Levi. Note, we will come back to the subject of the tribe of Levi. So the boy Aminadab, born around 1394 BC, was duly educated in the Eastern Delta country by the Egyptian priests of Ra. Wow. So in his teenage years, he went to live at Thebes. By that time, his mother had acquired more influence than the senior queen Sitaman, who had never borne a son and heir to the pharaoh, only a daughter who was called Nefertiti. In Thebes, Amenhotep could not accept the Egyptian deities and their myriad idols. So he introduced the notion of Aten, an omnipotent god who had no image. Aten was thus an equivalent of the Hebrew Adonai, a title borrowed from the Phoenician and meaning Lord, in line with Israelite teachings. At that time, Amenhotep, Hebrew equivalent of Amenhotep, Amen is pleased, changed his name to Akhenaten, servant of Aten.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Ananotkin is Moses. I mean, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pharaoh Amenhotep then suffered a period of ill health because there was no direct male heir to the royal house. Akhenaten married his half-sister Nefertiti in order to rule as co-regent during this difficult time. When in due course Amenhotep III died, Akhenaten was able to succeed as pharaoh, officially called Amenhotep IV. Akhenaten and Nefertiti had 6 daughters and a son, Tutankhamun. Pharaoh Akhenaten closed all the temples of the Egyptian gods and built new temples to Aten. He also ran a household and was distinctly domestic, quite different from the kingly norm in ancient Egypt. On many fronts, he became unpopular. Loud were the threats of armed insurrection if he did not allow the traditional gods to be worshipped alongside the faceless Aten. But Akhenaten refused, and he was eventually forced to abdicate in short-term favor of his cousin, Smenkhare, who was succeeded by Akhenaten's son, Tutankhamun. On taking the throne at the age of about 11, Tutankhamun was obliged to change his name to, oh, okay, I've been saying that wrong.
So King Tut,
Oh, yeah, okay.
correct? Am I correct in saying that's the same?
I
Which
think
I've
so.
seen King Tut's
Yes.
funeral stuff.
Um, so he, in turn, was only to live and rule for a further 9 or
Yeah.
10 years,
He was
meeting his,
super inbred too, guys. I've gone
oh, I
they allow
bet.
his King Tut, they allow his stuff to go on tour, and I went and saw all of his stuff in LA when I lived in LA, and yeah, he was the one. He died very young. He was very inbred. Um, King Tut, like he's the famous one of the more famous ones that they found in
Yes.
archaeological digs.
Yeah. Do we have much? Is it how much longer
I
is
don't know.
it?
I know you have to go soon.
Yeah, I'll
Let
have
me
to
just
head off
see
in a
here
minute,
because I can
unfortunately.
finish it up, or
Okay.
we could do a part 2 because there's
Yeah,
quite a
'cause
bit more.
yeah, there's actually quite a
So
lot.
let's
Maybe we
mark.
should
Can
just
we
do part
remember where
two.
we are?
Yes. So we'll
And
just remember
then
that.
giving up to this point, you guys, we'd love to hear because we're gonna get to the C's. reading of this, which is really, it's going to talk more about how Moses was inspired by the Lizzies, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it gets into like, goes back to the Machiavellian, like make them believe in one God, and then there's a more, so I think this is really important. And so let's do this next week. Let's finish it up next week. How about that?
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
just
Because I
put
think this is
throw my
really interesting. I
yeah.
love learning about all of this kind of stuff. I just think it's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. So, all right, you guys. Well,
And
I'm gonna let you go because I know you got to go get your child. So,
yeah,
yeah, all the information that we talked about down in the description box below. Spirituality is tough, but you're tougher. You can
exactly.
made to do hard things. Just because something hurts your feelings doesn't mean it's wrong. So, and just because things are hard doesn't mean they can't be fun. I think we have fun on the academy.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. I
so
often laugh at what you say in the videos, in the exercise videos. You definitely make it fun and great music too, which helps make it more enjoyable as well.
a favorite mantra:
Definitely.
dead people can't sweat.
Yeah,
So enjoy it.
it's so true. So true. Yeah.
So, all right, you guys. Well, all that
Yes,
information will be down below. Thank you so much to everyone for
thanks for
watching today, and
joining.
we'll see you guys very soon. Bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye.